Apologies for that, and let's get cracking basically. So first of all, what is male pattern baldness? It mainly happens through something known as androgenic alopecia. Alopecia is what? Alopecia is basically your hair falling off, and androgenic is your hair falling off due to the action of sex hormones basically. What are the sex hormones? Testosterone, estrogen, dihydrotestosterone, progesterone, basically. These are known as androgens, basically. But for the purpose of this training, wait a minute. Before we get started, I just want to make sure, sorry, I know I'm supposed to be saying this earlier. I just want to make sure that this full seminar is just for entertainment and educational purposes only. It's not meant to replace the professional advice from a physician or a medical doctor, basically. So this is just for entertainment and educational purposes only. That basically is it. But yeah, let's get cracking. So for the purpose of this free training, I am going to be concerned with two androgens, testosterone and DHT. All right. Now testosterone, think of it like a car, like a normal car, like a Toyota, basically. And DHT, think of it like a Lamborghini. Both of them are cars. They help you get from point A to point B. But a Lamborghini is far more powerful. So that for you is probably going to be DHT, right? So what is DHT? DHT is responsible for the deepening of your voice, the primary male characteristics, deepening of your voice, more muscle, more facial hair growth. It reduces depression. It helps you put on more muscle. It helps you get through puberty, basically. Your testosterone and your DHT levels increase during puberty. It's as simple as that. Now, there are several mechanisms through which hair loss occurs. Androgenic alopecia is one of them. Stress and DNA damage is another one of them. Lack of blood flow is like another one of them. But for the purpose of this free training, I'm going to be covering the topic on just androgenic alopecia. So, you having androgenic alopecia is solely genetic. There are loads of myths around it basically. Let's say if your mom's father's bald, you're probably going to be bald. If your dad's father's bald, you're probably going to be bald. I don't know, you don't know. There's a lot of variance towards it because I've seen people whose mom's dads are bald and they've got a full head of hair all the way until the day that they die basically. But it's solely genetic basically. But for the purpose of this, my hair is messy because I just had a shower. But androgenic alopecia, most of the men, they bald from their temples and their crown. As simple as that, because that's where most of the DHT receptors are there on the scalp, right? So what do I mean by this? For those people who got androgenic alopecia, their DHT is like a key, right? Which is gonna bind to a particular lock, So that is, what do I mean by this? Every hormone is like a key basically, and every hormone has receptors all over the body basically, so that when the key binds to the receptor, boom, the actions of those hormones will showcase itself. As simple as that, So yeah, testosterone. So let's probably say you produce testosterone, okay? So testosterone, you have testosterone, it gets converted to DHT via a process via this enzyme known as 5-alpha reductase, okay? So testosterone gets converted to DHT, all right? And for those people who got androgenic alopecia, they're genetically predisposed to androgenic related hair loss. So they have DHT receptors on their scalp, and when the DHT binds to the receptors, boom, the hair follicles fall out. As simple as that, Now in this particular case, you might be thinking, oh shit, I think I found the solution to hair loss. And how do I avoid it? It's simply suppressing the DHT in the body. That's one of the stupidest things that you can do, basically, simply jumping over to that conclusion, even though that's one pathway through which we can reduce hair loss and retain our existing hairs. But do realize that DHT reduces depression. It helps in focus. It helps you build muscle. It helps you with the hardness of your erections. It also gives your penis thickness, basically. It also helps you build muscle. It also deepens your voice, So like that's one pathway, but I am going to be covering more of that later basically. But let me just explain the basic mechanism through which your hair actually grows and nourishes itself. Simply blood flow and oxygen supply towards the hair, towards your scalp, is going to help with that. You must have heard these age-old myths. Simply getting like a nice head massage is going to help hair grow. Simply getting like an oil massage is going to get your hair to grow basically. Not wearing a cap is one of the most beneficial things with regards to getting your hair to grow. But there's a natural way to do it, and I'm going to be covering the natural way to do it first, right? And then I'm going to be covering the pharmaceutical way to do it. All right. So under pharmaceutical, there is hormonal and there is non-hormonal. Okay, that's what I'm going to be covering in this lecture. But let's get started. Okay, first things first. I will always have someone do something, then someone take something. So simply getting a head massage is like the quickest way to supply blood, oxygen, and nutrients to your muscle, to your hair follicles on the scalp. Not wearing a cap. Second way is, this has actually been shown to work like a charm. Derma needling. You get one of these off Amazon for, I don't know, $10 basically. They have like different types of needles, different density needles, and you can just simply massage them on your scalp, and they puncture micro holes on your scalp, which stimulate more blood flow, and more blood means more nutrients are going to be delivered to the follicles, as a result of which what do I mean? Yeah, the hair follicle, the lifespan of the hair follicle is going to be far more greater, and it doesn't really fall off because you're delivering more nutrients to the scalp. Third one is, lately you must have seen a lot of red light. Red light therapy. So red light therapy simply stimulates more like blood flow and collagen production. The where we place the red light, it stimulates more blood flow and collagen production basically. Red light's awesome, but for most of the people, I would have them do something like this. Second one is, you can get caffeine-based shampoos. Caffeine has shown to reduce the conversion of testosterone to DHT. So that like slightly blocks the conversion of testosterone to DHT, minimizes the DHT to bind to the receptor on the scalp. What else? Yes, rosemary oil works through a similar pathway like caffeine. But for most of the people out there, if you got androgenic alopecia, you are balding. These strategies, whether you take the pharmaceutical route, whether you take the natural route, it's just a strategy for you to slow down the rate at which you bald. In some cases, some of them, they do all of these tools, tips and tricks, and they don't bald, as a result of which they have solved the problem. But for most of them, you're just simply slowing it down basically. But if you are prone to baldness, you will eventually get bald, but these strategies are just to slow things down basically. All right, these are the natural routes. Now let's move on to the hormonal routes. But before I move on to the hormonal routes basically, non-hormonal, okay. Before I move on to I'm not going to say hormonal or non-hormonal, but before I move on to the pharmaceutical route basically, I need to explain it to you, the mechanism through which doctors, people who do hair transplants, dermatologists, they minimize hair loss, all right? So testosterone gets converted to DHT, and for those people who are genetically predisposed to balding, who've got androgenic alopecia, so what do is they block the conversion of testosterone to DHT by suppressing the 5-alpha reductase. So long story short, in summary, they just like reduce the conversion of testosterone to DHT, or in some cases, they just completely shut it off basically. So that's one pathway. So they just simply eradicate the key, which is the hormone. They just simply eradicate the DHT hormone or reduce it. Or there's another way, they just simply let the hormone remain, but they eradicate the receptor, they eradicate the lock basically. So the key cannot fit inside the lock, as a result of which things don't work, all right? Now, first things first, non-hormonal, there are two pathways. There's a ketoconazole shampoo, okay? And there's something known as minoxidil, 5%. Right, so let me explain the mechanism through which ketoconazole shampoo is basically going to work. Now, ketoconazole shampoo, it's an antifungal shampoo basically, and it also is a mild DHT inhibitor. So you put it in your scalp 1 to 3 times per week. Sorry about that. And it blocks the DHT to bind to the receptors locally. It doesn't get absorbed by your scalp. Put it in your scalp 1 to 3 times per week. It's a shampoo, and just let it remain for 5 minutes. That's one. The second thing is minoxidil. This comes in the form of a topical solution, and it's usually in the form of 1 ml, all right, 1 milliliter basically. You get this in the form of a spray, but minoxidil simply just, how do I say this? It stimulates more blood flow to the hair follicles, as a result of which more nutrients are being delivered. So what you're doing right here, you're causing new hairs to grow basically, or you're causing like your hairs to grow faster, your existing hairs to grow faster, but you're not retaining it. It's more of like water's rushing down the hill, but you're trying to like ship a boat up the hill basically. You're not addressing the root cause, which is retaining your existing hairs. Why would you grow new hairs when you can't retain the existing hairs? But these are the non-hormonal routes. Now the hormonal routes. Finasteride. This is the most common one. Dutasteride. Okay. RU58841. So, finasteride is a drug which is approved by the FDA. Dutasteride is approved by the FDA as well. RU58841 is just for research and experimental purposes only. It's not been approved by the FDA. Okay. Now, finasteride usually comes in the form of a pill or topical. Dutasteride comes in the form of a pill or topical. RU comes in the form of topical only. Alright? Now what each of these do? Testosterone basically gets converted to DHT via 2 pathways, okay? Pathway 1, pathway 2. What finasteride actually does is it blocks out one pathway, as a result of which you got less DHT floating around your system, and there's not much of DHT to even bind to the receptors on the scalp, and boom, the hair follicles don't really fall out, you know? What dutasteride actually does is blocks out both these pathways. So now there's literally no DHT and you just got testosterone basically, right? Now, why blocking out DHT or why taking finasteride or dutasteride is a bad idea basically. Now, it's approved by the FDA. Most of the people don't really get side effects with finasteride. Okay, most of them don't really get side effects with finasteride, but some people have reported things like gynecomastia, which is basically like man boobs. They have reported things like depression, brain fog, and like low libido, erectile dysfunction. That's 2 to 5% of the population basically. A lot of people say that it's placebo, but and when they do face it, the doctors usually tell them, okay, switch from a pill to topical, or reduce the dosage, or come off it, take some time off and then get back on it basically. But some people have come off it and they've had lingering side effects for the rest of their lives. That is known as post-finasteride syndrome. So there's probably no solution to that basically, but in my opinion, that's a real thing, you know? So I take finasteride and it's pretty well tolerated by me, because previously I used to take RU58841 and I got like depression, anxiety, like I was not able to sleep, I was not able to get an erection, and I felt suicidal. That was pretty horrible, and that's not like me. So I made the switch from RU58841 to finasteride topical solution, and boom, I'm actually pretty happy. But just letting you know, finasteride, it comes in the form of a pill, And according to the FDA, the minimum dosage is 1 mg per day. Same goes for dutasteride as 1 mg per day as well, right? But now, the topical finasteride doesn't really come in the form of a topical solution. Basically, you don't get only topical finasteride. Finasteride comes with minoxidil in the form of a topical solution. All right. So, yeah. Now, with regards to things, should you be taking finasteride? The answer is no. In my humble opinion, you want to do something. You want to exhaust the natural pathways for as long as possible, and eventually, when progress halts and you're not happy with it, then you want to take something. So, if I was coaching someone, again, if I was a doctor, I'd probably have them do head massage, dermaneedling, do red light therapy, use the caffeine shampoo, use the rosemary oil, and pace that up for as long as possible. Then, when progress would halt, then the next thing I would have them do is take the ketoconazole shampoo. That's it, 1 to 3 times per week. And eventually, if progress would halt, then I would have them take something known as minoxidil, basically. Yes, you're probably going to say, like, why taking minoxidil? Why are you trying to grow new hairs if you're not retaining the existing hair? Well, all of this, along with ketoconazole shampoo, is going to have some effect of retaining existing hair follicles, and the new minoxidil, which is going to grow new hairs, will also supply blood and nutrients and oxygen to the hair follicles, as a result of which you will be growing new hairs but retaining your existing ones as well to a large degree. So yeah, minoxidil 1 ml per week. Now, if you're not happy with it, then you can take finasteride in the bare minimum dosage. Now, according to the FDA, the rule is 1 milligram per day, but then people have reported to have seen results with 0.2 dosages as low as 0.3 milligrams to 0.5 milligrams per day, basically. I take 0.1 milligram per day because I just like to be safe. But if you take it in the form of a pill, it's going to be absorbed. It's going to go systemic, obviously, because it's going to pass through your kidneys. So what I like to do is I like to combine the finasteride, topical, like finasteride usually comes compounded with like a topical minoxidil. So I like to take that solution, and I like to take topical minoxidil solution separately. And I like to mix the two together and make my own dosage together, basically. But what you can do is you can take 0.3 milligram, let's say you take like a 1 milligram pill, basically, split it into 3 pills. You can take it over Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or how we're gonna split it out across the week, and you can take it with the topical minoxidil, basically. That, and for some people, it could be as low as 0.1 milligram, basically. My suggestion to a lot of people is try out with the bare minimum dosage to reap out the maximum. As simple as that. Now, dutasteride, I don't really have much knowledge about this, basically, but this simply blocks out all the DHT pathways, like all the testosterone conversion DHT pathways in your body, basically. So I wouldn't advise it, but for some people, they have reported for it to work for them like a charm, basically. So yeah, the next one, RE54441. This is going to come in the form of a topical solution. Now, this is not FDA approved, and people have not used it for research. Like, they've just used it for research purposes only. And yeah, but what exactly this does is RE54441 is applied topically, and it simply blocks out the receptor on the scalp. It doesn't block out the hormone. So the DHT is still going to be there inside the body, but the receptor is not there, as a result of which the key cannot be applied in the lock, and boom, the hair follicles are not going to fall out, basically. But for some people, they tolerate finasteride pretty well. For some people, they tolerate RE54441 pretty well. So, as per anecdotal reports, basically. So yeah, but again, in summary, your hair's falling, do the natural route first. Then move on to the ketoconazole shampoo. Wait for it, pace it up for as long as possible. If you're not happy with the results, hop on minoxidil. But do realize, if you take minoxidil, if you take finasteride, it's a lifelong commitment. You want to take it for the rest of your life, because if you come off any of them, then you're going to go back to your old old rubs. As simple as that. You're going to go back to your old hair health, you know. Now, what is the process of a hair transplant? Let's probably say you've completely gone bald. Hair transplant is simply taking hairs from the part of your scalp and implanting it in the areas which you're bald in, and then using drugs like minoxidil to stimulate more blood flow to those follicles so that they can grow, and finasteride so that you can retain those existing new follicles. Basically, it's as simple as that, you know. So yeah, now I always advise people, again, I'm not a doctor, right, and you should always listen to your doctor, but I always advise people to take a topical version of finasteride. Why? Because it's going to be absorbed 70 times lesser compared to a pill of finasteride. So, but the unfortunate thing is a topical finasteride usually comes compounded with a topical minoxidil. Basically, what do I mean by that is the topical finasteride is compounded together with the topical minoxidil. So, and you usually, those solutions usually have like 1 ml of liquid, which is going to give you 1 ml of minoxidil with 1 mg finasteride. So you must have heard me say you need to be like the bare minimum dosages. Like, you can also get benefits when you go as low as 0.3 milligrams per week. But how can you go up to 0.3 milligrams per week when the solution itself has 1 milligram and 1 ml basically? So what you can do is you can buy a separate only minoxidil solution, and you can take, how do I say this? You can split the dose in a way that you get the respective concentrations of the finasteride in the concentrations that you want. So try and test it basically. Again, it's a bit of a pain in the ass basically, but that's how I do it, and it's worked out for me so far. And yeah, people, if you found this helpful, feel free to like, share, subscribe, and feel free to follow me for more tips. And just letting you know, like, yes, I know hair loss makes a guy feel pretty anxious, but if you're proactive about it, you know, you can retain a decent amount of your hair without making it look obvious basically. So yeah, found this useful, feel free to like, share, subscribe, and excuse me, I know this is my first video, so please cut me some slack and have a nice one.